Welcome back to another edition of Farming for Profits here from County 034, here from a Farmers Media where we help you attain about discussing probably here in our county. Yesterday we had a visit in one of the farms around here. I always say that one of my inspirational farms when I was starting off as a farmer. Something that I learned that it is important to check what you're doing, what you're growing, but most importantly, it is an investment that you're putting on the soil, and you have to make sure that the investment bears some fruit. And that is the only way you can be able to say that you're talking about agribusiness. Agribusiness, you think about the agri, and then you think about the business. But you have to make sure that you are not just engaging in any activity that anybody else is engaging in. If you are doing that, make sure that you are engaging from a wisdom perspective, from a knowledgeable perspective, where you get to know, understand what can I grow to make money. But most importantly, how can I grow whatever I am growing with the passion that I have to make some money? And there are solutions that are out there, and we as a farmers media always want to make sure that we bring to you some solutions that have worked either for us or we have seen that they can work, and they've been tried and tested. And today I have a guest with me, somebody who I have been following on social media, and I would like her to introduce herself. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome to
Thank you,
Farmers
Noah.
Media. Yes. Karibu
Yeah,
sana. Yes.
thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes.
My name is Corein
Yes.
Herweijer.
Herweijer.
Yes,
Okay.
that's it.
Okay.
Yes.
Karibu sana. Welcome to Farmers Media. And something that really struck me is, I think it was a year ago when I saw you talking about potatoes in one of the social media channels. And I was asking myself, can potatoes really do well in hot areas? I remember I asked one of the professors, I don't know if you know him, Professor Nicholas Kibet, and I asked him, can potatoes really work well in Kajiado in the heat? And he said, probably they can, but let us give it time. So, Corinne, Karibu Sana, welcome. Who is Corinne?
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. The person you see in front of you, what you see is what you get. Yeah, but well, I'm not Kenyan. I was born in the Netherlands,
Okay.
so I'm a Dutch citizen.
Mhm.
I've been in Kenya for the last 12 years, so quite a while. Mimi ni kama mwenyeji kweli.
I can hear that.
Yes, and I think Kenya is a beautiful place. I love it here.
Thank you.
I see Kenyans are extremely friendly and warm and welcoming.
Mhm.
And they also see that there's huge opportunities in Kenya for business and, yeah, among others for agribusiness.
Mhm.
And yeah, that is what I have found myself in professionally as well.
Mhm.
So I work for a potato seed multiplication company
Okay.
called Agrico Potato Services Africa.
All right.
And yeah, I've been working with them for the last 3.5 years,
All right.
promoting the use of certified potato seed to farmers.
Mhm. What brought you to Kenya?
Adventure. Search for adventure.
Search for adventure.
Yes, yes.
Have you got the return
Oh,
on
yes. Yes, absolutely. And I'm still getting it every time I go to the fields to visit farmers and to interact with farmers.
Yes.
Yes, I get a bit of that adventure. Um, Kenya is beautiful in terms of the landscapes and to travel through.
Yes.
Where I come from, the Netherlands,
Mhm.
it's extremely flat.
Mhm.
And yeah, when I travel through Kenya, there's usually some hills and mountains. And yeah, that scenery just really excites me and I find it beautiful. Maybe the same way when you go to Netherlands, you actually appreciate the flatness
Yes.
and the organizedness and
Yes.
everything is straight and in blocks.
And the large farms.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, and that as well. Very different environments, of course.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
So you've mentioned about potatoes and seed multiplication, but what is the origin of potatoes?
So the origin of potatoes is actually in South America. I think potatoes originally come from Peru, if I'm not mistaken, and at a certain point were brought to Europe by the traders who were sailing ships,
Okay.
and have then really been popularized, I think, in Europe. And yeah, my home country, the Netherlands, has become a major producer of potato seeds and has really specialized in breeding activities for potato seeds, and as a result has become a yeah, the biggest exporter of potato seed in the world.
Wow, wow. What quantities are you talking about in terms of being a big seed potato exporter? What quantities are you talking about?
Oh man, now I feel ambushed because
I just want to know.
I don't have those numbers on my
Yes.
fingertips,
Yeah.
but I'll get back to you on it.
Right.
Yes, yes, but this is millions and millions of tons of potatoes. Yes, and what we do here in Kenya is still relatively small, but we can see a lot of opportunities. But yeah, our company Agrico exports to over 80 countries all over the world.
Wow.
Yes, so yeah, it is a multinational really and an international business, the export and sale of certified potato seed.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for the introduction. And so we've heard about Corein, and now let us tell us briefly about Agrico, Agrico East Africa or Agrico Global. What
Yeah.
is Agrico? What do you guys do? Yes.
Yeah, sure. So Agrico East Africa actually is a trade name that we use, but the company here is called Potato Services Africa, which is a joint venture between a local company and Agrico from the Netherlands.
Okay.
So yeah, we usually refer to as our mother.
Yes.
And Agrico in the Netherlands, like I said, is a very big breeding house specialized in breeding of potatoes and exports potato seeds all over the world. In the 1940 to 1945, we had the Second World War in the Netherlands. And after the war was over, you saw that people felt optimistic again, and there was a very big boom in population. And as a result, also food productivity needed to increase to make sure that this growing population could be fed. And as a result, the Netherlands started to look at how do we make our land use more efficient, how do we increase productivity from our land.
Okay.
And as a result, they actually became so efficient in the production of potatoes that very soon they were able to produce more potatoes than what the country needed. And that is when now companies like the breeding houses decided to specialize more and more in the breeding of seed and less in the production of the consumption potatoes. And yeah, then that naturally led to the Netherlands developing a lot of expertise in potato breeding. And so there are quite a number of big seed houses in the Netherlands, and Agrico is the largest within the Netherlands in terms of its export volume. And yeah, like I said, they export all over the world. Interestingly, where Agrico is located is actually on the reclaimed lands in the Netherlands.
Wow.
So you're aware that some of our farming land was once at the bottom of the sea, which we've reclaimed. So the Netherlands, the average altitude is maybe 2 meters above sea level or 3 meters above sea level, depending on where you are. So we are very close to the sea and we're very lowly leveled. And yeah, also at a certain point, the Dutch decided to reclaim some of the land from the sea. And that has actually proven to be very good farming land. So yeah, the Dutch have been farming there and mostly doing a lot of potatoes on that land. So our mother company actually breeds potatoes below the sea level.
Wow.
Yes.
Very interesting. A lot of technology, farming technology, comes from the Netherlands.
Correct.
Do you think Africa, Kenya can be able to catch up within a certain time, or we just go we just go through our baby steps and just make sure that we are doing something? Is it possible to have like exchange programs between the Netherlands and Kenya that can be able to encourage young people, especially people who have studied agriculture, to perfect some of their skills? Is it something that is possible?
Yeah, I think there is a lot of opportunity for exchange and learning from each other. So, like you have said, the Netherlands has really perfected some of the technologies related to farming. I know a lot of Kenyans also know the Netherlands for dairy farming, its excellence there. And what you see is that as a result, quite a number of Dutch companies have actually come and invested in Kenya, have set up businesses here, reasoning that we have technologies that can help improve productivity or maybe introduce new products or processing and value addition of products. So I think there definitely see a lot of sharing and learning. I know also that the Netherlands embassy here in Kenya, for example, has been very supportive of the agricultural sector and of exchanges. And for a long time, there have been trade missions going between the Netherlands and Kenya, or Netherlands and East Africa, to encourage that exchange and learning from each other. So that is definitely there. Of course, what we need to realize is that the landscapes are very different in terms of, can I say, social and geographically. Um, in Kenya, a lot of farmers are smallholder farmers, and many farmers also do subsistence farming. Yeah, and then if you compare with what is happening in the Netherlands, um, we practically don't have subsistence farmers. So people who farm are typically professionals who have gone to an agricultural college and say, my career is in farming, and approach farming as a profession and behave as a manager, meaning that they're not only in the fields, but at the end of the day, they also look at the books and they also look at, as a manager, how do I improve my systems? Am I profitable? How can I control my cost of inputs?
Yes.
Improve productivity? And that is maybe something where in Kenya, the smallholder farmers, on average, are not so much aware of this. And I think we can also still learn a lot from each other in this area.
Very interesting. Something that you mentioned that we've always been having the same discussion with some farmers is that very few farmers in Kenya are actually practicing farming. Most of us are doing gardening. So is it true that if you're doing less than 5 acres, you're just doing gardening?
Well, those are your words. I think we are seeing examples sometimes of people who do intensive farming on smaller pieces of land.
Yes.
And it is possible, and you can, I think, make very good money out of that, provided that you're very focused.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But I do not know, for example, farmers who do 5 acres of maize. I don't know if that is a very exciting and profitable venture, and if that farmer also considers himself to be a manager of his crop.
Why do you say so? Well, I mean, that's a very interesting discussion, because we had some discussion with some farmers a few days back, and we there was a little bit of some confrontation, because one of the guy who brought up the issue is he said that he has been working in an organization in Netherlands, and if we actually saying that farmers can actually make profits from 5 acres and below, then we do not know what we're talking about. So why do you think that if somebody is doing 5 acres and below maize, might not be profitable for him?
I'm not sure.
I know. We'll go back to potatoes.
Yes. Yeah. I think it's mostly about increasing productivity.
All right.
And I sometimes travel around and I see fields of maize that are not tended to. I spoke with one of my friends recently, and they told me, my father has a piece of land, but he's not dedicated. We plant maize, but we probably harvest as much as what we have planted. And that is obviously not business. That is, I don't know, maybe occupational therapy
or hobbies.
Or hobby. Yeah, it is pretending that I have a farm and that is what I do. But as a farmer, I mean, if you want to do it well, it can be a full-time profession.
So you
need to be in your crops. You need to invest your time, knowledge, resources on your crops. And only if you do that is, I think, when you will start seeing that now, okay, I can improve my productivity by changing ABC. Let's
pause that. We'll do that in the next part. We want to dig in deeper, because we're actually having some questions coming through now, and we just want to know that particular part of it is that the discussion that a few minutes we've just had, is that I want us to finish the show with it.
Okay.
In terms of guiding farmers on what to do, what not to do.
But let's stick to potatoes then when it comes to guiding.
Exactly.
That is my specialty. Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
So what are some of the programs that Agrico is running? I've seen that you very much in the Kenya Netherlands seed potato program that is there. Yeah, please tell us much about that, and then we will go deeper into now farming for profits through potatoes.
Okay.
Yes,
yeah. So I have to take you a bit back in history in that case. Maybe about 10 years back.
All right.
When I think globally we saw that in terms of aid from developed nations to developing nations, the developed nations, like maybe the Netherlands, said we want to move away from the traditional giving of just aid more towards trade. Sorry. And I think this is a change that we saw in a lot of Western European, that maybe even started at the beginning of this century, at the 2000s. So the Netherlands said we want to move more towards trade. Let's stimulate trade because we believe that is more sustainable in the long term for Kenya's development or for developing nations' developments. And so inquiries were done. What is what are strengths from the Netherlands that could help with increasing that trade between the Netherlands and developing nations? And so, like you said, of course, agriculture is one very obvious one. And so then the Netherlands said we want to focus more on stimulating growing investors and supporting Dutch investors who want to trade in developing nations and want to set up business in developing nations. And so as a result, then the Dutch government asked all its foreign embassies, can you tell us what is the need in the countries where you are? And so in Kenya, one thing that really came up in light of food security was that, we may need to diversify the diet more. Of course, Kenya is heavily dependent on maize in terms of staple crop. But for a balanced diet and also to spread farmer risk, it's good to have multiple major staple crops. And so one of the major staple crops that also Kenya recognized is the potato. And then, the Netherlands embassy found that if you look at the productivity for potato farmers in Kenya, on average, that time was really low. The average potato farmer was getting maybe 3 to 4 tons of potatoes from 1 acre of land. Whereas in the Netherlands, they were getting an average of maybe 20 to 22 tons per acre from a piece of land.
Wow.
Yes, so that is a massive difference.
And some of this land is reclaimed land.
Yes, the bottom of the sea. So the Netherlands said, can we do something to help boost the potato sector in Kenya, the potato industry? And when they studied the sector more, they found that one major challenge why the productivity in Kenya is so low, it's not because farmers are bad or farmers do not want to work, but one major reason was that there wasn't enough certified seed available for farmers. And there still isn't enough certified seed available for farmers. Estimations show that maybe 2 to 5% of all the potatoes that are planted is with certified seeds. So that means 95% of the farmers doesn't use certified seeds. And that is one of the contributors why productivity is low. What happened because there wasn't enough seed for many years is that farmers decided to plant potatoes, harvest, keep the small tubers aside, sell the big ones, and replant those small tubers. Something that we have seen with maize in the past as well. Recycling of seed.
In Kenya, we call it kukamua.
Kukamua
the seeds, they do even sometimes, some of our farmers in Moya also do that for tomatoes as well.
Yes. And what you have to realize is that every time you do that, you get a lower grade of produce because your seed is not pure anymore. Okay. But also as a result of this recycling of seeds, unfortunately, when a seed has a disease or the soil that the seed is planted on has a disease, because a potato seed will always have some soil attached to it, if now I harvest my seeds from one shamba that had a disease and I plant it in another shamba, I have now introduced a disease into that other shamba. Or maybe, Noah, you had a very nice crop in your field. And I ask you at the end of the season, Ebu, Noah, give me some of your seeds. I also want to plant those potatoes. Unknowingly, the seeds may have gotten diseased because potato is a very sensitive crop for diseases. And so unknowingly, you may think you're helping me, but you've actually accidentally given me diseased material. And so as a result, also spread of diseases, soil-borne diseases in Kenya for potato farmers is a very big problem that also really lowers the productivity from the land. So Agrico then came in together with other Dutch seed houses to explore opportunities to invest in bringing certified seeds to the Kenyan farmers. Yes.
So when Agrico came in and found all this mess that is going on, what are some of these steps that you've taken to make sure that at least we reduce the at least we reduce the losses farmers were facing, but also importantly is to increase from the 3 to 4 acres that you found Kenyan farmers getting to at least even if it's 5 tons or even 10 tons. What are some of these steps that
Yeah.
Agrico has taken?
Yeah. So first of all,
Mhm.
what we realized is that because, like I said earlier, the
Mhm.
Kenyan market is dominated by smallholder farmers.
Yes.
We realized that if we want to succeed reaching the farmers,
Mhm.
as Agrico, we need to be on the ground.
All right.
So sometimes Agrico works with a model of agents, where an agent buys seeds and then distributes.
Mhm.
But in Kenya, that infrastructure has not been developed because
Yes.
there wasn't enough seed available.
Yes.
Yeah, so Agrico said we think that it's good we actually come and invest in Kenya.
Mhm.
So first of all, we had to find large enough land where we can produce seed every year, whilst observing crop rotation techniques, which is a requirement from KEFIS,
Okay.
who inspects and certifies our seeds.
Mhm.
So yeah, we needed to find enough land,
Mhm.
and then at that land we've set up our seed multiplication farm.
Mhm.
We've put up a large warehouse so that when we harvest the seed, we can store it there. Because our primary production farm is rain fed,
Mhm.
and that means we plant at the same time when farmers are planting.
All right.
So we plant in April, we harvest in, let's say, August, September,
Mhm.
and farmers are in need of seed again
Yes.
for the long rains in
Yes.
March.
Yes.
So we need to make sure that we can keep the seeds for all that time, and so
Yes.
we've invested in our specialized warehouse, a
Mhm.
conditioned cold store where we can store potato seeds.
Mhm.
So we've built the infrastructure,
Mhm.
and after we did that, now we started working on, getting our feet on the ground
Yes.
and understanding where are the farmers and
Mhm.
how do we engage best with them.
Mhm.
And what we realized over the years is that we really need to handhold the farmers.
Mhm.
When farmers come to us and they are interested to buy our seeds,
Yes.
we find that we really need to explain to farmers how to handle the seed in the right way, how to plant it in the recommended way, and also where to look for other quality inputs.
Mhm.
Because our certified seed is great,
Yes.
but it cannot do miracles on its own.
Mhm.
So that means also for our seed to perform well and for the potential that that seed holds in
Yes.
terms of the productivity to come out,
Yes.
we also need to work together with partners. And farmers need to understand that they need other inputs like fertilizer, like the chemicals. Like I said, potatoes are very sensitive to diseases, so we need to spray very often. Potatoes do need enough water. So if you're depending on the rainfall, then you need to know how to time yourself. Farmers need to know how to plant, how to prepare their land,
Mhm.
how to do weeding, etc. So there's also a part of sharing knowledge.
So is this something that you are doing? Probably a program that you have that farmers are sharing this, or you have partners who are doing this?
Yeah, so from the year 2016 to 2019, we partnered together with Bayer and with Yara,
Mhm.
where Bayer is a company in crop protection and
Yes.
Yara is in nutrition.
Yes.
And we undertook joint demos
Okay.
in 3 different counties, that is in
Mhm.
Narok, in Nakuru, and in Meru,
Mhm.
which are all major potato growing areas.
Okay.
And we now wanted to engage farmers and show them that this is potato farming 2.0, what we want to introduce you to,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
So, yes, you may have been farming potatoes for a long time, but we want to help you increase your productivity with our different products
Mhm.
so that you can actually see that it works,
Yes.
that yields go up, and that it is worth investing in these products.
Okay.
I sometimes make a joke that Kenyan farmers, or maybe farmers all over the world, are very much like doubting Thomas in the Bible.
Why?
So you know the story
Yes,
of
the,
Thomas.
Thomas. Yes,
Yes.
he
So
didn't
Thomas
believe
said,
him.
"I need to see your hands to believe
Yes,
that you are
exactly.
Jesus." So
But it's because farming is very practical. So you have to show
yes,
somebody this is viazi.
yes.
Yes.
Well, and that's also the nice thing. So
Yes.
farming, yes, I told you, a farmer needs to realize he's a manager, and there's a lot of science behind it, and a lot of theory and information available. But at the end of the day, we can practice it,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And practice can make perfect
Perfect.
if you are focused.
Good. Those who are watching us, who've joined us, this is Farming for Profits here with Corein Herweijer. Have I got it right?
Herweijer.
Herweijer.
Almost.
And we're talking about potatoes. What Agrico East Africa and the Republic of the Royal Republic of Netherlands are doing, especially increasing, helping farmers in Kenya to be able to increase their yields, increase in terms of the type of quality of the certified seeds, potato seeds that you're using on your farms. And we're going to get in deeper and getting more. Ask us questions if you have questions there. Send the questions there. We can see some of the questions coming in, and some of the questions are coming in very interestingly. Remember, this is a farmers media where we tell you stories of African farmers, but we also help you get to know who is this, who has a passion of helping farmers succeed, because you can only succeed when you're working with the right people. So, Corinne, I will stick with Corinne for now.
Yes, please.
Some questions coming in, and which we'll answer them
Yeah.
before the break. Is it possible for farmers to make money growing potatoes?
Absolutely.
What can farmers do to make money?
Good. So, as a farmer, you must realize that seed is your biggest determinant of your output.
Okay.
So, we talked about maize farmers. I think there are very few maize farmers in Kenya who do not buy certified seeds nowadays, who not buy seed every season.
Yes.
And I've seen that it really pays off. Same for potatoes.
Okay.
Once you start using certified seed, you will see a very big difference in terms of productivity, so your output, but also the quality. Because the seed, when it is bred, it is free from diseases. It is inspected by KEFIS to make sure that it is of the highest quality standards.
All right.
Yeah, and when you plant healthy seed, of course, then you expect better results.
Yes.
I sometimes make a comparison. Let's say both of you and I need to run a marathon.
Yes.
And I have pneumonia. Who will win the marathon?
By default, the one who doesn't have.
Right?
Yes.
So the healthy one will always perform better. Yes, yeah. So same for seeds. So yeah, that's very important. But like I said, seed alone, cannot perform. So it must go hand in hand with the right nutrition program, with the right crop protection program to keep it healthy and to keep it productive throughout the season.
Very interesting. You started with the seeds, and that's one of the challenges that farmers face. In fact, one of the questions that really prepared is to ask whether farmers can kamua. To kamua is normally you rinse and then you remain with the best seed. So I've had this instance. Most people saying no, just go to the market, get the seeds, cut them into small parts, buy the bigger potatoes, then put them in a dark area. I've seen some farmers in the potato growing. I can actually confidently say the former potato growing areas. Yeah, because now we can grow in Kajiado now. Yeah, as in, and that's what they do. They make sure that the seed is there. They say they're saving cost. Some even go to the extent, and I can say actually even me myself when I was starting off, I nilikamua kidogo. I removed some of the seeds, and then to save to the so-called saving cost. And they say that the new generation of seed that you're using now is climatized, but technically, as you're explaining, that becomes a lower grade. I think I'd like just you to repeat that again in terms of emphasizing on getting a reliable seed, but most importantly, certified. And that comes to the question that how do you know a seed is certified?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So, certified seed, like I said, is very important because potato is very sensitive to diseases, and there are some soil-borne diseases for potato, like for example PCN, potato cyst nematode, which is a very big challenge, and that can be transferred through seed and through soil that is on seed. And so, if you do not use certified seed, but accidentally you buy this thing from the market and plant it, and it may have been invested with PCN. Yeah, once you have PCN in your farm, your yields are definitely going to drop. And ideally, the way to get rid of it is stop potato farming. Stop farming anything in the Solanaceae family.
So
tomatoes, managu, tobacco, eggplant.
But Dave, let me ask you before we go any further. We have different types of farmers. We have new beginning farmers. We have older farmers. How did potatoes and tomatoes come from the same crop family? I mean, it's just interesting. Because some farmers don't understand that they come from the same family. How do they find themselves in the same family?
I have no clue either. But look at you and I. We look very different.
Yes.
But we are still part of the human species, right?
But I mean, it's just interesting because potatoes is a tuber.
Yes.
And tomatoes is,
Yeah.
so I think that those are some of the things that I think when you're doing farming, you have to just start asking yourself some of these hard questions, but finding out more. So you mentioned something very interesting about seed. What is the average cost of seeds?
Oh, sorry. So before we go there, you asked me
Yes.
how will a farmer know it is certified
Exactly.
seeds?
Yes. Yes.
So actually, like I said, KEFIS is the authority that
Mhm.
inspects and approves seeds.
Yes.
Kenya KEFIS stands for the Kenya Plant Health Inspectorate
Yes.
Services.
Mhm.
And once seed has been tested and approved by KEFIS,
Mhm.
then we as the seed merchant get labels from KEFIS.
Yes.
And so these labels are always stitched on the back with seed.
Mhm.
The farmer should actually hold on to that label throughout the growing season,
Mhm.
because if there's any challenge with the potatoes, and that could be seed borne,
Mhm.
then the label also helps the seed merchant to trace and to verify.
Mm.
So I usually say it's like when you go to Naivas and you buy a
Yes.
TV,
Yes.
you get a receipt and a warranty, and
Yes.
you hold on to that. In
Yes.
case something
Yes.
happens with the TV, you can go back to
Go
the
back to
store.
it.
So same for the potatoes. So I always advise farmers, hold on to those labels. Don't
Mhm.
throw them away in the field or throw them away with the bags,
In the bags,
but
yes.
actually hold it so that if there is any challenge,
Mhm.
yeah, then you can refer back to it and say, I actually did buy certified seeds.
So when you talk about certified seeds as the beginning of everything, do farmers need to do a soil test to determine whether they can grow potatoes? Because sometimes farmers, we talk about them with our partnership crop nuts.
Yeah.
We guide farmers about that, and they're like, no, let's just plant. I think nature will teach us some lessons. Some of the lessons are very very painful. Do farmers need to start using a soil test? And what are these things that they should be looking at in terms of considering it's in the same family with tomatoes?
Yep.
Should farmers be looking at the same type of diseases and nutrients?
Yeah. Okay, great question. So, yeah, we always advise farmers to do a soil test. Um, a soil test doesn't have to be done every season because the soil doesn't change that drastically.
Okay.
But at least try to do it once every maybe 2 years,
Okay.
to get an idea of what is the pH in my soil, and are there specific nutrients that are really in excess or really lacking.
Okay.
Potato is a very intensive feeder as a crop. And for example, it needs a lot of potassium as one of the macro elements. But there are also micro elements and even trace elements that make a very big impact on the quality of your potato tubers, so what you're going to harvest. So, for example, calcium is also very important. Zinc, boron, magnesium towards the end of the tuber formation, very important to give good tuber quality. So it is important to know, do you have that in the soils or not, and then to substitute it with a fertilizer. I know for a lot of smallholder farmers it's not yet common practice, but yeah, like for us, we are a very large seed production farm, so we always get our soil analysis report done and get our own fertilizer blend made for our own use.
Okay.
So if you are a larger farmer, that is an option. So you get your own custom-made blend for your potatoes.
Okay.
But yeah, sometimes, of course, for a smallholder farmer, that can be difficult because also the fertilizer companies look at the economies of scale, of course. But there are actually some fertilizer companies that have come up with specific potato blends.
Wow.
That are also very good for the Kenyan farmers, where they've looked at what are the specific nutrients that potato needs at which stage, and how can we package them into a blend that meets the requirements of the Kenyan farmers.
Very interesting.
So for potatoes, we recommend that you do, first of all, fertilizer as a basal dressing at planting. You can then top dress, and sometimes you may also want to add a foliar spray, especially if some of those microelements are missing.
Okay. Do you have a spray program, a crop nutrition program, a management program that we can be able to share with farmers after the show?
Yes, definitely, we have that. This is mostly from our partners that we work with.
All right.
We are happy to share that with farmers.
Fantastic. We'll go for a short break, Corein. I'm thinking this can go on for another 3 hours.
Yes.
We'll be taking a short break for those who are joining us, who are watching us. This is a Farmers Media where we tell you stories of African farmers. This is your Farming for Profits show with your host, Noah Nasiali Kadima. And today I'm joined by Corein Herweijer.
We're getting there.
from Agrico East Africa, and she's educating us and telling us about how we can be able to be profitable growing potatoes. We have been waiting for you, more of you, to join. We're seeing some of your comments. Let us know where you're calling us from, where you're contacting us from, what you want to plant, why you're attracted in growing potatoes. We had a poll that is in Africa Farmers Club. Go there. Let us know what you're thinking about growing potatoes and why. And if you have any questions, put them in the comment section, and we'll have Corein definitely answer most of them. You can also make sure that during this break, you can briefly go to Agrico East Africa, just check their page, check some of the programs which we'll be sharing with you later on. We'll be going for a short break, and when we come back, we'll talk about farming for profits, how much money is in potato farming, and how can we be able to make sure that we are getting the best out of this. We'll be going for a short break.
Je, wewe ni kijana unayetafuta ajira au chanzo cha kipato? Suluhisho la kudumu limepatikana. Ungana nasi katika kipindi hiki. Mimi msimulizi wako The Principal, nikukumbushe
Welcome back to Farming for Profits. Your host Noah Nasiali Kadima, and I am have a guest with me who has been enlightening us a lot. I'm being enlightened 14 years after I started farming about potato farming, and I've been eating potatoes every day. Corein, welcome, and thank you for being with us here.
Thank you.
We are just going on, and we have a lot of feedback coming through, and very many questions. Where people asking, how do we grow potatoes? Where can I get seeds? And so, just something that you've mentioned, those who've watched us, who've been watching us, or those who are joining us, something that Corein has mentioned that is very important, of paramount importance, is the fact that it starts with your seeds. If you don't get certified seeds, you've reduced your production, you've cut down your production automatically. There are different ways that you can be able to make sure that you're getting certified seeds, and Corein will mention where we can be able to get the seeds later on during the show. Something that is very important is the fact that what Agrico is doing is an amazing job, especially multiplication of seeds, the right seed for farmers for different regions. And there's something else. Stay in the show. We'll talk about. Corein will be mentioning something that I saw yesterday, that how you can be able to grow seed under irrigation in the heat of Kitengela. Remember, this is County 034, Kajiado County, and the moment we start growing potatoes here, Corein, I think we'll take over. Corein,
Yes.
how much money can a farmer make from planting potatoes on average? Not those ones that we see somewhere people talking about.
Yeah.
On average,
Yep.
take us through the planting. What somebody requires. How
Yep.
many kilos probably can start from there. How many kilos
Yep.
does a farmer need to start planting?
Okay, great.
Yes.
Yeah. I really love this question because I think when we look at the numbers, really the difference in farming practices becomes
Yes.
very clear. It speaks from the numbers.
All right.
And also the reason why I think people should invest in potato farming becomes clear.
Okay.
So maybe for people who are listening, let's get pen and paper because I'm going to give you all the numbers for potato farming.
Okay.
I hope you also already know.
I think I've been waiting for this for long.
This is now your potato economics class. Yes. So just to give you a rough idea,
Yes.
for let's work with 1 acre as an easy use of unit of measurement.
Yes.
So for 1 acre of potato farming, if you want to do it well, you need to budget around 100,000 shillings
100,000 shillings
as your input cost for
That
that
is-
1 acre.
That is inclusive of water or without water?
That is if you depend on rainfall. If it is irrigated, it will be slightly more.
Okay.
Yes, so
All right.
several independent studies have been done and
Mhm.
show that in Kenya, potato farming for 1 acre, if you want to do it well, will cost you
Yes.
between 80 to 120,000.
Okay.
So let's round it off at 100 because that's also easy to calculate.
Yes. Okay.
So, of course, I said your biggest determinant of your yield is your seed,
Seeds. Yes.
and it also takes the biggest chunk of your budget.
All right.
And so for seed, you need to budget about 50,000 shillings.
50,000.
Yes. You need to plant about 1 ton of seed on your 1 acre land.
Wow.
So 1 ton, that is a pickup full of
Seeds.
potato tubers.
All right.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are these big tubers or the small tubers? Which one is the best?
Yeah, so for potato seed that is certified by CAFIS, there are 2 sizes
Okay.
that are the standard sizes.
Mm-hmm.
One is size 1,
Okay.
which is tubers that have a diameter of 28 to 45 millimeters.
All right.
We usually compare it to the size of an egg. So we call them usually egg size when
Egg
we're talking
size.
with farmers.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
If you're using egg size seed,
Yes.
no, let me explain that later. Then there's
Okay.
also seed size 2, which is a bit bigger.
Mm-hmm.
It is tubers with a diameter of 45 to 60 millimeters,
Okay.
and it compares to the size of your fist, your closed hand.
Okay.
So about the size of your fist.
Uh-huh.
Bigger than that is now the potatoes that are suitable for eating.
Okay.
Why is that? So we have the egg size, the fist size, and beyond that.
Okay.
When it comes down to 1 kilo of seed,
Yes.
let's say we have 1 kilo of seed size 1 and 1 kilo of seed size 2.
Okay.
Which one has more tubers in it?
I think the smaller ones, size 1.
Correct.
The egg size.
Yes, correct.
Yes.
Because the smaller sizes weigh less, and so
Okay.
you'll find more tubers in it.
Uh-huh.
Which is also why we don't recommend to use the very big sizes to plant,
Mm-hmm.
because that is expensive to purchase.
Uh-huh.
Because sometimes our tubers can grow even up to 1 kg for a single tuber.
Wow.
So
I saw yesterday I think two tubers were half a kilo.
Yes,
Yes.
it's possible.
Yes.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
All right.
So if you're using seed size 1,
Mm-hmm.
you need to use 16 bags or 800 kilos of seed.
That egg size. What
egg
is egg
size.
size?
Yes, that is
16
the egg
bags.
size, 16 bags or
Six-
800 kilos, because a bag is 50 kgs.
50 kgs.
Yes.
Okay.
If you're using...
And we'll go back to that 50 kg bag
Yes.
after post-harvest.
Yes,
Okay.
good. Yes. If you're using seed size 2,
Uh-huh.
you need 20 bags or 1,000 kilos to cover your acre.
Oh, because they're bigger size.
Exactly.
Okay.
So you need more.
Okay.
Yes.
20
yes,
bags.
Yes.
Okay.
But what we're trying to achieve is the right plant population in your land, right? So when you're planting, you need to space about 30 centimeters between the seeds, between the tubers that you're planting.
Yes.
In the row, and then 75 centimeters
Okay.
within the rows, between the 2 rows.
So if you're doing 2 rows,
yeah,
this you're doing irrigation or any?
Doesn't matter whether it's irrigated or whether it's rain fed.
Right. Okay.
Yes, you should still give the potato enough space to grow, and also the function of the rows, that size is so that you can walk through the rows when you're doing your spraying for crop protection.
Okay. So 30 by 75.
Yes.
By 75.
Yeah. Correct.
So plant to plant is 30.
Correct.
75 is row to row.
Correct.
Perfect.
Yes.
Good.
Also very important is, of course, potatoes, where are we harvesting it? We're harvesting it from the soil. So we also need to be mindful of how much space does the potato need downwards in the soil. So we are talking now about seed to seed,
okay,
and row to row, but yeah, we also need to think about the space that the tuber needs to grow downwards, because that's where we're harvesting.
Yes.
And we recommend that the potato also needs 30 centimeters of loose soil as the depth in which it can grow. Yeah. So when you're doing your land prep, it's very important to make sure that you prepare your land deep enough. You find a lot of farmers use a disc plow for land preparation.
Yes.
And when you use a disc plow season on season, what happens? You have a layer of topsoil that gets depleted of nutrients.
Yes.
And below that is
a hard pan.
Yes. Exactly.
Yes.
Potato seed is about as strong as my finger. So can my finger penetrate a hard pan? No way. So that means also potato seed, when you're planting it on top of a hard pan, you are basically not giving that seed any space for its roots to grow,
penetrate and produce.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes, to tap into nutrients, to tap into water. And even with that, farmers are limiting their yields.
Okay.
So even changing your planting methods, of instead of planting on that hard pan, making sure that you give that potato 30 centimeters of loose soil all around, you are going to see an increase in your yield.
Oh, very interesting. So wow. So land preparation is very important as well.
Very important for potatoes. In fact, if you go wrong at land preparation and planting, there's very little you can do later on to recover your crop.
Okay. So does that mean that some areas, so if you don't use, so definitely as looking at this, you cannot do a lot of conventional agriculture in terms of just without using a tractor. But if you're using a tractor, you don't use every season. And what can you do? Do you use a tractor and then you add manure? Do you need to add manure in the soil as you're preparing the land, or you just use a conventional fertilizer?
Yeah. So if you're using mechanization, then I think it is recommendable to use a chisel plow or a ripper. Doesn't have to be every season, but at least regularly enough to keep breaking that hard pan. And once you've broken that hard pan, you will see your potatoes will do better, but even your other crops that you're going to grow. So even your maize, your beans, your cabbages, your onions will benefit from better soil structure.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Interesting.
When now it comes to back to the cost of potato farming, because you asked about manure.
Yes.
So, like I said, potato is a heavy feeder.
Yes.
And it needs very specific nutrients at the different stages. And you find that that is hard to achieve if you're using manure only.
Okay.
So farmers can use manure, but then you're using it more as a way to just improve your overall soil health.
All right.
We recommend that for potato farming, farmers still do use fertilizer. And especially the specialized fertilizers for potato. So I'm not a big fan of NPK or DAP or CAN as a blanket fertilizer for potatoes.
Okay.
It is much better to use the specialized blends that are available in the market, because that will be more in tune with what the crop needs at the different stages.
All right. So some of these special blends are available?
Yes, they are available. Yes. I don't know if I may mention the companies.
Not a problem. Yes.
Okay, yes. So there's Yara, who has a great fertilizer for potato. They have different fertilizers for the different stages. There's Yara Winner, Yara Power, and Yara Miller.
Okay.
So that is one company that has good solutions. Another company that has a very good solution is Baraka.
Okay.
Baraka Fertilizer also has a very good potato blend.
Okay.
Both a base and a top dressing.
Okay. So Baraka is what was used yesterday when you were looking.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So even when we do demos, it's always a must for us that partners come on board with fertilizer solution, with crop protection solution.
All right. Interesting. Yeah. So, okay. What
budget for your fertilizer?
Yes. Exactly.
Should be around between 10 to 12,000 shillings per acre.
Okay.
All right. Yes. We're not taking into account the cost of manure.
Okay.
And when now it comes to applying your fertilizer, I know the farmers are used to preparing their land and making a furrow.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So they dig a trench and then put fertilizer in that trench and put the seeds on top.
Yes.
Now, that is not right.
How do you do that?
We want to change this.
Okay.
If you look at how we do things at our farm, everything is mechanized. And how is fertilizer applied when it is mechanically applied and potatoes are mechanically planted? Fertilizer is spread over the field with a fertilizer spreader or a manure spreader. And so we recommend to farmers that they do the same in their fields.
Okay.
So even if you're doing manual, that is okay. Prepare your land.
Yes.
Don't make furrows because we do not want the farmer to plant in the furrow if there's a hard pan.
Okay.
All right? Take your fertilizer, spread your fertilizer over the land. So walk through the land and just throw the fertilizer.
All right. Okay.
Spread it evenly. Then what the
farmer
should...
Like the way you broadcast.
Exactly.
All
broadcasting.
Right. Okay.
Then what the farmer should do next is now he's going to take his djembe and make ridges with the djembe.
Okay. Okay.
So now what are we doing? The fertilizer that we spread out on the soil is what we are incorporating in the ridge. So that ridge is full with soil with fertilizer. And then we plant our potato not in the furrow, like I said, what the farmer is used to.
Yes.
But we plant it in that ridge. Because remember, I told you the potato needs 30 centimeters of loose soil.
So it has to be on top so that it has
a good root system.
All right. So that it has some loose soil below.
Yes. So you can put the potato about a finger deep in the ridge.
Okay.
Yes. And then if you have that challenge of hard pan down there, it will not be an issue.
And as you're doing this, spacing seed to seed is 30 centimeters.
Correct.
One ruler.
Yes.
Okay.
Or maybe your foot.
Okay.
Yes. If you don't have
big.
a ruler. Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, so then we plant in the ridges, and then after that, now we wait for the crop to germinate. If we're depending on the rain, then we pray. If you're a prayerful farmer, which I think all farmers become by default,
we have faith.
Yes, but you wait for the rains basically.
Okay.
But of course, if you're irrigating, then now you lay the lines and you can start irrigating.
How long does it take for germination? How long should a farmer wait to see germination?
Yes. So we typically say you count 21 days.
21 days.
Yes.
So 21 days you should have got.
Then your crop should be up.
Okay.
Yes.
So 21 days you should have at least 90% germination.
Yeah, depends a bit on the weather conditions as well. But
which is ideal, heat or cold?
I think what I've understood from agronomists,
yes.
Let me make it clear, I'm not an agronomist myself.
And we will get back
Apologies.
to that.
Yes. It's good when the nighttime temperatures dip a bit. Go below, let's say, 16, 17 degrees. Because that actually helps for the tubers to release the growth hormones and helps the potato to germinate better.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter so much if it's very hot during the day, but it is nice if it cools down a bit at night. However, of course, we don't want temperatures below zero. Okay. We don't want frost because, that can damage the potato crop.
And as you wait for these 21 days, do you still continue watering if you are doing irrigation?
That's a good question. I don't know. Can I get back to you on that?
Yes.
Because irrigation is fairly new to us as well, actually.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, yes, because most of the farmers you've been dealing with, they are from rain-fed.
Yes, okay. Correct. Right. Yes.
So I think that would be a very good question, so that we don't also soak the seed with a lot of water.
Absolutely. Yes. And of course, it depends on the weather conditions as well. So what we usually say is that when you make a ridge, your ridge can actually help to hold moisture when it's very hot. So when you take some soil from inside the ridge and you hold it, you will feel that sometimes it has moisture.
Okay.
When you squeeze that soil and water comes out, it's too wet. Okay. When you throw it up in the air and it stays into a clump, it is too wet. But it should slightly loosen up a bit.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just basically to check the soil there.
Yes, because it depends on the wind, on the sun, how much evaporation is there, your method of irrigating as well. Yeah.
All right. Interesting. So where we are right now, we are at,
we were doing our mathematics.
I think we are at 62,000 shillings.
Yes.
If we factor in 12,000 shillings for fertilizer.
Yes, correct.
Yes.
So now once your crop starts coming up,
yes,
you will need to protect that crop from insects,
yes,
pests and diseases.
What are some of these insects? I know you're not agronomist, but I know some of these things.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So white flies and aphids is something that you need to be mindful of. That is because they will fly from plant to plant and suck on the leaves. And if a disease is in one plant, then they can very quickly transmit it to other plants. So you don't want it to be a carrier of diseases. Something that also I've had farmers complain about is cutworm. Yes.
At that stage, yeah?
That very big one.
Yes.
Yes. And if you have cutworm, then you need to spray an insecticide against it.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah. Because it can actually eat the stems of the potato, and then you have nothing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we don't want that.
We don't want to say it eats the heart of the crop.
Yes. Yes. You're left with nothing.
Yes.
In terms of diseases, potato is very sensitive to fungal diseases.
Okay.
And you asked earlier about the comparison between potato and tomato. Yes. So I think there is some comparison. You must spray potato very regularly against blight. Okay. There's late blight and early blight.
Which one comes first? Is it the same case with the tomatoes?
How is it with the tomatoes?
I hear that late blight comes first, then early blight comes later.
Correct.
And why is it called late blight?
I have no clue. No, I wish I could also understand this research. I have no idea, but it's true that typically late blight would come into your crop first, and early blight towards the end of the growing cycle.
So does it mean that the same? Sorry to cut you. Does it mean that the same fungicides that we're using for tomatoes we can also use for potatoes, or there are specific ones?
I believe so. Yeah. Okay. What is important for when you're spraying your potatoes with a fungicide against blight is that you look for the active ingredients in the fungicide. Okay. And we usually recommend that you alternate the active ingredients. Okay. So there's usually a fungicide that's based on mancozeb. Okay. And the other one is zymoxanil, if I got it right.
Metalaxyl?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yes. So it's good to alternate. And then, of course, we also have the milder ones that are more preventive, and the stronger concentrated ones that are more curative.
Curative, yes. So
don't think you're starting with the curative so that it's very effective. Start with the preventive. Okay. The same way, I may eat an apple or an orange every day as part of my preventive health. Okay. Okay. Instead of saying, let me take an antibiotic every day to stay healthy. Okay. Okay. Right. The antibiotic is a curative if I have a bacterial infection. Okay. But preventive, I can maybe take a multivitamin tablet, or I can make sure I have a healthy diet.
Okay. Interesting. Good to know. Good to know that. So that's very interesting. So any other fungal infections that farmers should look out for? Or prevent, or make sure that they have, because there's some farmers who say, I want to buy all the chemicals and fertilizers and the fungicides for the season, approximately.
Okay. Yes. That's sometimes hard because you really need to look at the crop in the field and respond to what you see in the field.
So scouting is important.
Extremely important. Okay. In fact, I wish potato farmers could be in their field every other day. Yes, just to check. Because Noah, if you get blight in your potato crop, let's say I'm visiting my farm tomorrow. Yes. And I see there's some early signs of blight, and then I'm going away for the weekend, and I think I'll come back on Monday and spray. Do you know, it may happen that over the weekend your crop gets wiped out by that blight.
Let me tell you my story of my tomatoes, now that they're in the same family. I went to the farm one day, and I saw a few plants were turning black. And there's this app that I use, it's called Plantix. And I detected some blight. But for some reason, I just did what you said. I said, probably since I'm coming back to Nairobi, the next day I might send the fungicides.
Mm.
And it just happened for some reason I forgot. And the next week, the farm manager does not want to send me the photos of the tomatoes.
Whoa.
Then he says it's probably something that we sprayed, because this tomatoes look black. And I wondered really how, why.
Oh.
And when he sent me the photos, I actually drove all the way just to look at it, and I realized, wow, that is the error that we did here. So I think I totally agree with what you said.
Yes.
You have to scout and scout and scout.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Yes. And don't cut on your preventive sprays.
Okay.
When we're in the field with farmers, we
Mhm.
usually try to share the message with farmers in such a way that they can easily remember. And of course, there's a bit of language barrier sometimes,
Yes.
because as much as I say, mimi ni kama mwenyeji, my Kiswahili is not fluent. So a
Yes.
lot of the talking I do is in English.
Okay.
But then I tell farmers, when it comes to spraying your crop,
Mhm.
the same way you go to church every
Yes.
week to pray,
Yes.
the same way you should go to your shamba every week to spray.
Interestingly.
Our recommendation is weekly sprays.
Weekly
Where
spray.
you start
7
with
days
the
or 4 days?
preventive.
7
Yes,
days.
7 days.
Okay.
That is sort of the standard interval.
Okay.
If it is extremely dry, like
Mhm.
we saw this past season,
Yes.
you can decide to increase that interval a little bit.
10 days.
If it is extremely wet,
Yes.
you can decide to reduce that
to 4
interval.
days. Okay.
Correct.
Interesting.
Yes.
Very interesting. Those who are watching us, this is Farmers Media, where we're talking about farming for profits, talking about irrigated potato farming. And we're getting into the irrigation, on what it is, what are these varieties that work well. We are with Corein, who's from Agrico East Africa, and she's guiding us and telling us how much do we need to put into potato farming. And if you're following us, remember our social media handles are farmers. We are social on our farmers and all social media channels. We have our new YouTube channel and Farmers Media. Keep on subscribing. Remember to always share. We believe in being farmers. We learn how to share. The more we share, the more we win together, and the more profitable it is. And if you have any questions, we are Corinne. There are quite a number of questions here, but we'd just like you to take us through this
Sure.
particular part of the costs.
Yeah.
And then we'll have at least a session where we can answer most of the questions, because some of the questions here being asked are some things that we have lined up for discussion.
Okay.
And we are seeing time is, I think we will have to have you again here.
Ooh.
So where we are is that we've talked about the seed, cost of seed, 50,000 shillings.
Yeah.
We've talked about the 12,000 shillings, which is now 62,000 shillings. We have a few thousand shillings there remaining, where we know part of it will go into land preparation. Some of it will go into water, probably. Water we've not factored in yet here. So the sprays, the chemicals, as well as the fungicides.
Yeah.
How much average?
Yeah.
With all, I was told not to be using that, with all factors constant.
Yeah.
How much would that cost for a farmer who wants to make a decision?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think the farmer should budget between 12 and 15,000 shillings for that.
Okay. 12 and 15,000.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
That should cover for the typical crop.
Yes.
Sometimes you may find if it's a late maturing crop and it's very wet, because your crop is then in the field for 4 months and you may need to spray more often, it can go up a little bit.
Okay.
But
so 20,000, we can say 20,000 shillings.
On the higher side, yeah.
Okay. Is that specifically for colder areas, or even the hot?
Interestingly, even now when it's been hot, we hear farmers complaining about still about blight because of the very cold nights. Yes. So you may actually think that there's no rain, so I can reduce my spray interval. But yeah, let your crop tell you.
So technically, climate change is affecting almost all crops.
Absolutely.
I normally hear some questions. Some farmers call me and ask me, "No, which is this crop that I can use the least amount of money, that does not need a lot of care, and can give me a lot of money?" Do you think there's something like that?
Even I would like to know. Please, when you find that answer, Noah, then tell me. Yes.
I always run away from such farmers.
But actually, that's a good point, because to be honest, potato is not a crop for lazy farmers.
Okay.
And not a crop for telephone farmers.
No telephone farming.
No.
You've had for yourself no telephone farming, potato farming.
Potato farming is very capital intense, like I said, about 100,000, but it's also very labor intense. Because like I said, you need to scout your crop ideally every other day or twice a week to make sure that those diseases do not come in, and then it wipes out your crop immediately.
Let me ask you, can you weed? Is there a herbicide for weeding?
Yes, there is. So sometimes you will do a pre-emergence herbicide before the potato crop comes up if you have a lot of weeds. So that is possible. And then, what you mostly find if you do pre-emergence, by the time now the crop comes up, if you have weeds, you can pluck it by hand.
Okay.
By the time now the weeds want to regrow again, your potato crop will be big enough.
Okay.
So that its foliage will actually cover the weeds.
Okay.
But also what you can do when the potato is at the 4 to 8 leaf stage, so when it has just germinated, 4 to 8 leaf stage, and you have a lot of weeds, if you do not want to use a chemical, or maybe there's a variety that is sensitive to a chemical, like one of our varieties, Manitou, is very sensitive to some of the chemicals.
All right.
You could actually decide to re-ridge, meaning you take your djembe, you put a little bit of soil on top of your whole ridge, the weeds and your potato.
Okay.
Just like this, an inch, not more, 2 centimeters, 1.5. The weeds will die because they're not strongly rooted and they don't have a mother tuber feeding them.
Okay.
But your potato crop will come out.
Oh,
and so that's a more organic, natural way of weeding.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, but the only challenge is that now in terms of weeding, then is there special like djembe or something, or just the normal ones? Like
just the normal ones.
Not like onions that you require something that is different.
No.
Okay. Now somebody's asking from the land preparation. Do we need to raise the beds like the ones we do when you're doing onions, when you're doing drip irrigation, or we just do flat, but we make sure that we dig in properly?
Yeah, so it depends on how you've prepared your land at the very first step. So if you've managed to do a chisel and a plow, or if with your djembe you can actually go deep enough, and we recommend that you do two
double digging.
Two digs. Double digging. Yes, exactly. And you break the big clods. If you put a stick in the ground and you can see that there's no hard pan that the stick is hitting, then you don't have to make the ridges or the beds. Yes. Okay. But if there is a hard pan, then what you're going to do is basically you're going to raise
the bed. Oh, so you get this. Okay.
So
and then when you're planting,
on top of that hard pan, you have that 30 centimeters loose soil.
Okay.
And you plant your potato somewhere in the middle.
In the middle. Okay. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Good. But it's advisable to have to break the hard pan.
Yes.
So that you don't have to continue digging all year round.
Yes.
Fantastic. We are actually seeing some of the brilliant crops. I think some of the photos you've shared, we are seeing. I think viewers are saying whether their crops can be that way. A very interesting question that we're being asked here. Does potato farming in irrigation do well in black cotton soil or red soil?
Potato, interestingly, can do in almost all soil types.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But if it's very sandy soil, it may struggle a bit. Okay. Also, in terms of like your fertilizer application, because it may seep through the soil too fast when it rains.
Okay.
Yes. So if it's very sandy soil, it may be a challenge. But potato can do in loamy, in clay, in red, in black.
But it's important to test the soil first.
Yes.
Good. So we are at 77,000 shillings.
Good.
Close to 80,000 shillings if we factor in challenge of a few things.
Yeah. So we've counted for seed, for fertilizer, for chemicals.
Yes.
Now, of course, your other big cost is your labor.
Okay.
So labor, depends a bit on your area, and also labor is going to depend on your harvest, on your yield, because when we're harvesting potatoes, usually we pay people per bag harvested. So
it's part of the 100,000 shillings.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. So labor, I think you can budget another about 15,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That is even though you're using the herbicide.
Yeah.
Wow. Interesting.
Yes.
Very interesting.
Because the land preparation is quite labor intensive, right?
Yes. Okay.
If you want to do it the right way, yes. And
so this labor is including
ridges,
land preparation.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the last bit, farmers many times forget this, but we also need to cost our land.
Okay, interesting.
So if you're leasing land, you need to pay someone for it.
Yes.
But if it's your own land, then it's still good to cost it because it is contributing in your production. And you also need to do things to keep your land valuable as an asset, of course. So it's good to cost your land as well.
So you have to be a manager, not a farmer.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay, very interesting. So
I think with that we come to about 100,000.
Yes.
If you're irrigating, the cost of irrigation can depend a lot on your irrigation method.
Yes.
And maybe your location and the source of water.
Yes.
So I find it a bit hard to say something about that.
Okay.
maybe you have experience.
I
Because I've seen nice irrigated crops here outside.
I think on average cost, depending on if you're buying water, is I normally use onions because onion needs a lot of water, and being a tuber as well, I normally factor in around 20 to 30,000 shillings.
Okay. Yep.
If you're doing if you're buying water at between 100 and 120 shillings per cubic, and because again, in terms looking at tubers, they require water when they're forming the tubers.
Yeah.
And not in initial stages, and also when they're now, and then towards the end you need them to be dry.
Yeah.
So you reduce the watering.
Correct.
So between 20 to 30,000 shillings.
Yeah.
So I think it comes back to our initial figure of close to 100 to 120,000 shillings.
Yeah.
If you're not depending on God for rain.
Yes, correct.
Good. So I think I'm being told I'm being given a shout out to you by David Ndegwa.
Oh, nice. Yes, he's one of our farmers.
Yes.
Actually, David is a large-scale farmer.
Yes, we are yet to go to Naromoro to visit his farm.
Okay,
yes,
yeah.
Yes. He's been a mentor to us. He's guided me a lot, and he said I make sure I say hi to you.
Thank you, David, and Salemias, back to you. Thank you for supporting us.
Something interesting, a question that has come through when you posted this that you're coming in. Somebody asked, "Are these potatoes GMO?"
No. No. So remember I told you that in the Netherlands they specialized in breeding potatoes.
Yes.
But they don't use any GMO.
Yes.
They just use crossbreeding between the different varieties and observing and monitoring the performance in the field. And actually that journey of breeding a new variety,
yes,
from the start to commercialization,
yes,
can take 20 or even 30 years.
Wow.
Where you start with thousands and thousands and thousands of options.
Yes.
And you end up with only 2 or 3 commercially viable varieties.
Wow.
Which is also why we need to pay royalties for the plant breeders' rights.
Yes.
Because that is what can keep the breeding activities going.
Wow.
Yeah. No, so GMO is not used in potato breeding. And actually also, of course, in Kenya, GMO products are not allowed. And of course, we are a compliant company. So...
So those who are watching us, Njoroge Kinyanjui, you've heard for yourself that it is not GMO. Okay, interesting. So you've given us a lot of information. I know it will take time for us to digest, and we know that we will have you here as well. We are still also in the process of asking you to allow us to come and see the seed multiplication, which you explained that it might be a challenge, but we know that one day we'll be able to come and see outside the fence and see it.
So actually, Noah, we're doing a very interesting thing. We're making videos that capture all our processes, because we get a lot of farmers who would love to come and see what's happening.
Yes.
Want to see the machines and the equipment.
Yes.
Irrespective of whether that is something that they'll actually do themselves or not, but just to marvel and to see that this is possible in Kenya.
Okay.
And we would really like to share that message with as many farmers as possible.
Okay.
But we are an isolation farm under monitoring from KEFIS.
Okay.
Or even quarantine farm. But quarantine, I don't mean quarantine for COVID. But as a seed multiplication farm, you have to make sure that you stay free from diseases.
Okay.
And that's why it's hard to get visitors to come to our farm and see. But instead we said, let's make videos that are actually very easy to share with farmers and to spread, and so that everyone can get an idea and we can feel proud as Kenyans that there's a state-of-the-art mechanized potato farm here, 3 hours drive from Kitengela. Yes,
that's a very interesting thing, and we hope that we'll be part of the team that we can be able to share it out through our media channel as well. And you mentioned something about COVID. How did COVID affect you guys?
Yeah,
and the farmers that you've been working with?
Great question, because like we said earlier, we are farmers and we like doing things practically.
Yes.
So we were used to undertaking a lot of field days with farmers, training them and interacting with them.
Yes.
And when COVID first hit, of course, the government made a restriction on group meetings.
Yes.
And we therefore could not undertake any of our field activities. What we then did is that we actually went back now to media. And we actually recorded a first set of videos that are training tutorials on good potato farming, where step by step we explain to the farmer what he needs to do when it comes to land preparation, preparing your ridges, taking your soil sample for soil testing, your fertilizer application, up to the point of harvesting. So for those of your followers that are interested to watch these videos, they can
Yes.
go to YouTube
Okay.
and look for the channel for Agrico EA.
Okay.
Yes, and the videos are available there, and people can actually watch them. And the nice thing is we can share them also on WhatsApp,
Okay.
and farmers can go back to those videos at
Yes.
the point when they need it.
Okay.
So whereas in the field we train farmers on everything at once, and
Yes.
then just hope that the farmer will remember.
Yes.
But when it is a video, we can train them, and then they go home with the videos
And pause.
They have a refresher course.
And you
Yes.
pause as you prepare land.
Exactly.
Thank you very much. So there's something else that you've mentioned. I remember you mentioned something like PCN.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just somebody's asking about PCN, that it has really affected them and their farm. And somebody else is also talking about market, though that market we'll talk about it a bit later.
Yeah.
I want us to go into what we saw yesterday.
Yeah.
The heat-resistant varieties. Which ones are these? What farmers can do? How long do they take? Is it what do you rotate potatoes with? So probably we can start with the heat-resistant varieties.
Yeah, sure. So as Agrico East Africa here in Kenya, we've registered 13 varieties with kefis, but we've commercialized 4 of them right now.
Okay.
Because we said most farmers actually only know 1 potato variety or 2, that is mostly Shangi.
Yes.
And maybe Dutch Robin. Some parts they know Unica, Alika, I've heard of Stephen. But the potato farmers in Kenya are not so much aware of all the different varieties that can be there for different purposes and different economic agroecological zones.
Yes.
So we said we introduced 4, and out of those 4, interestingly, 3 have some good heat tolerance. That is Destiny, Manitou, and Rudolph.
Destiny, Manitou, and Rudolph.
Yes.
I think
I've shared the flyer with you guys.
Yes, our producer, if you can actually just showcase it. Yes, I think it's this one.
Yes, correct. Yeah,
yes.
yeah. And these different varieties have some heat tolerance, but be very careful. Heat tolerance doesn't mean that it is also drought tolerant.
I was about to ask the same question.
No. So like you said earlier, potatoes or tuber crops need enough water to grow well. So they can deal with some hot temperatures, but not with drought.
Okay.
Potatoes 80% water. Actually, just like you and me, we're also 80% water.
Yes.
So you don't give the potato crop enough water, definitely you will not get your high yields.
So it is heat tolerant, not drought tolerant.
Okay. Yes, correct. Yeah. And with heat, we mean it can go up to maybe 35, 40 degrees, but we should not have daytime temperatures of beyond 40 degrees. The potato doesn't like that.
It can do 35.
Yes. Do you know there's large-scale potato production under irrigation in places like Egypt?
Yes.
Algeria. I have seen Afghanistan, Iran.
Wow, and those areas are very hot.
It can get very hot there.
And I hear one of the eateries in Kenya is importing potatoes from Egypt. I will not mention
So
them.
I hear as well. But that's an interesting point.
Why is it because
they need a potato with specific characteristics that are good to make chips out of them. And they're saying right now they cannot get that potato in Kenya all year round. And that is because 80% of our potato farmers are planting with the rain, or maybe even 90%. And so when it is the right season, they can get enough of the right potatoes. But when it's off season, they will struggle to get the right potatoes.
Okay.
Because they have standard operating procedures where they say, okay, all our chips must be fried for 1.5 minutes at 180 degrees all over the world. And so they need a potato that can fit that requirement.
For the time that they've been here, is there a variety that probably you can mention to just for farmers? Which variety do you think that can match the standard?
So one variety of ours is called Marquis, which is a great variety for making chips.
Okay.
And actually, we see that some of the fast food chains, the local fast food chains, are using that for the production. So we are really happy with that. Marquis produces oval-shaped tuber. So that means when you are cutting your tuber into chips, you get nice long French fries. But also it has a high dry matter content, meaning it has relatively more starch and relatively less water. So that when you're frying it, it doesn't absorb so much oil. So that's also more economical than for the process.
So viazi si viazi tu.
No.
There's a famous saying that says waru ni chips. Viazi, something like that. So it's not just potato, it's not just potato.
No. So you have different potatoes for chips, for crisps, for mashing, for stews, as well as potatoes with different maturing periods.
Which is the best? Which is the best of all your varieties? I can say 4 varieties. Which is the
Yes.
best that a farmer can engage in with 100,000 shillings and they're sure of getting something out of it? And we will go back to the 100,000 shillings. A farmer has asked, what is the potential yield?
Yeah.
We will do that as we
Yes, very good question.
Yes.
Yeah, I often get the question, which is the best? And then I usually respond to that with a counter question. Noah, do you have children?
Yes.
How many?
3.
Which one is the best?
All of them. But
I'm the mother of the potatoes, so to me they're all good.
Okay, probably you can ask. Yes.
Yes, I'm sure amongst your 3 children, one is maybe more hardworking, one is maybe more organized, one is maybe makes you laugh, and they have different characteristics. So same for our potatoes. Yes. What you see is that because there are not so many processing varieties available in Kenya, our processing varieties have a very high demand. That is Destiny and Marquise.
Okay.
Yeah, we see a very high demand for them from the end market, the off-takers who make crisps or chips. And the good thing is that they have a predictable demand all year round.
Okay.
Because we eat chips in the cafeterias every day. So that means also the processor needs potatoes every day to supply.
All year round.
Yes.
Another question.
And this is now the invitation to farmers who are listening, and especially the irrigation farmers, and why we were in Kajiado yesterday. Can we convince you to grow potatoes off-season so that we bridge that gap that the processors are facing, where there's potato shortage and they can't get the right potato, and they then have to revert either to alternative options like importing or using maybe a potato that's not so suitable for chips for that purpose.
What is off-season?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I was asked the same yesterday. In most of Kenya, we have 2 rain seasons.
Okay.
So most parts of Kenya we plant in March, April, and then that's for the long rains, and then again in let's say September for the short rains.
Yes.
I know those sides of Meru, Mount Kenya is a little bit different, but the rest of the country follows that pattern.
Yes.
And so off season would be somebody who is able to plant, let's say, in December or January, when it's actually the hottest, driest season.
Yes.
And rain-fed farmers would not think of planting.
All right.
Yes. So if you've planted last month, I think you should be good to go. By the time you're harvesting in April, there is usually a shortage of potatoes, and I don't think you should struggle to get market.
And is there a problem harvesting when it's hot, when it's raining, like onions?
Yes, there is, because if it's too wet, then of course a lot of the soil will stick to your tubers, which is inconveniencing, and means also that it will inflate the price. But also if potatoes get rained on, they can very quickly start rotting. So you don't want your potatoes to be kept in water. So it is true that if you're planting in the off season and then you're going to harvest with the raining period, you need to time yourself very well.
So post-harvest management is very critical as well for
Absolutely.
onions. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much. There's quite a lot of questions coming through, which we'll send them to you as well. Where can a farmer get certified seeds? That's a question that is coming after every 5 minutes.
Yes.
Where can farmers get certified seeds?
Okay, great.
Yes.
So we are selling our seeds all from our farm in Nakuru.
Okay.
We are about 25 kilometers outside of Nakuru town, on the way towards Baringo, Marigat.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And every Wednesday and Friday is when we serve the smallholder farmers with their orders.
Okay.
Our potato seed is kept in a cold store, and when we remove the seeds from the cold store, they need conditioning, warming up to the outside temperatures for about 2 days before the potato seeds can be ready to dispatch.
Okay.
So we dispatch seeds every Wednesday and Friday. So we request that farmers place their orders in advance.
What is the minimum amount?
50 kg is 50 the minimum. We sell in 50 kilo bags. Yes. So no farmer is too small for us.
Okay.
But we like to know when the farmer is coming. When the farmer then comes to collect his seed, he's encouraged to inspect his seed upon collection. And we then also train the farmer once more on this potato farming 2.0.
Okay, interesting.
The right techniques.
So
because it's a big investment for the farmer, the seed,
uh-huh.
and we want to make sure that that investment pays out for the farmer,
Okay.
so that he can harvest a good yield. He is going to smile at the end of the day, and he will also come back to Agrico next season to buy more seeds.
Fantastic. We have very few minutes remaining.
Yes.
I just wanted us to mention about the National Potato Council, and
Yes.
specifically the 50 kilogram package. I saw that I think one of the social media handles, yours.
Yes.
You, I think you almost stood and started clapping because of this. Do you think it is viable? Is it happening? Is it a reality, or it's something that it's just for the media?
So I think change comes slowly.
Okay.
And we're changing a habit that has been there for many years. But what we're seeing is that yes, there is a law that says we should pack our potatoes in 50 kilo bags.
Yes.
And sell them only in that unit. I think it's very good because right now many times farmers are selling potatoes in an extended bag.
Yes.
And then sometimes it's very hard to gauge if they're getting a fair price for it. And the size of the bag differs per county. So I know in maybe Usingisha and Elgeyo Marakwet, there's a double bag.
Yes.
And maybe in Nyeri it is a heaped bag.
Yes.
And so that also that makes it difficult to compare potato prices across. What we would like to see is that farmers get paid per kilo.
Okay.
They get paid for their produce per kilo.
So whether it's heaped or not, it's per kilo.
It should be paid per kilo, but
Okay.
then it's easier to make the 50 kilo bag a standard unit size.
Yes.
And actually, the reason why the 50 kilo bag was implemented is coming from the ILO, the International Labour Organization.
Okay.
Because what happens up country, people are lifting those bags and putting them in a truck. Those big bags can break your back.
I go to Marikiti sometimes and I see somebody with like almost half bent and the 90 kilogram bags, and you're wondering, okay, so it's coming all the way from ILO, not just something about packaging in Kenya.
So I think ILO made a recommendation
Yes.
that for
Takes care of the
workers to be healthy, it's good that we limit the weight of the potato bag.
Interesting.
Also, potatoes are quite sensitive to bruising. So if you have a very big bag, it becomes also difficult to handle. So there's more chance of bruising. The potatoes at the bottom may get squashed as well, and that will compromise your quality, which at the end of the day means that, when you're selling it, your buyer will not be happy and pay a normal price for it.
So that's technically that is post-harvest management.
Yes.
Interesting. Thank you very much, Corein, for being with us here. Something somebody is asking is, what is the potential yield per acre?
Yes.
Having done all factors constant with 100,000 shillings, proper land preparation.
Yeah.
What is the potential yield per acre, and how much in terms of selling?
Yeah. Very important
and
question.
And also something important, who is buying potatoes?
Oh,
apart from Marikiti, right? Because I know most farmers don't want to go to Marikiti.
Sure, yes. So first of all, actually, we started calculating our business case, and we stopped halfway. So we calculated the cost, which was coming to about 100 to 120,000.
Yes.
So now when it comes to your yield, if you followed our advice, you've bought the certified seeds and the right quality inputs and the farming methods, as a farmer, you should be looking at a harvest not less than 10 tons.
Okay.
If you're doing less than 10 tons, we're not in business. You're not an agripreneur.
It has 10 to be tons 10 tons and above.
Yes, that should be your target. 10,000 kilos. So we've planted 1,000 kilos of seed, and we are looking for a conversion of maybe 1 to 10.
Okay.
If the first season you get 8 tons, don't worry. You're going to learn. You're going to improve. That is also your classroom. The farm is your classroom. So you keep learning and improving.
What is the minimum size of land a farmer should think of doing when they're doing potatoes? Because when you drive towards Eldoret, you find some very small, some very big.
Yeah.
What are the factors?
So assuming that this is a commercial farmer, not a subsistence farmer, it depends on the market. Some of the buyers have a weekly requirement of maybe 1 ton.
Okay.
And 1 ton you can get from even a quarter acre. If you do a quarter acre well, you can actually get a pickup full, 2 tons. So even an eighth of an acre can do, depending on your market. But there are also buyers who need 100 tons a week.
Okay.
And so in that case, now if we say the conversion factor is 10, because that's easy for mathematics.
Yes.
So that means if they need 100 tons a week, you could even plant 10 acres.
So and how does a farmer? I think most of us as farmers want the shortcut way of give me a buyer. Where can farmers go and get these buyers?
Yeah. So first of all, the farmers can follow us on Facebook,
Okay.
Agrico EA.
Okay.
When farmers buy certified seeds from us,
Mm-hmm.
and they do not have markets at the
Mhm.
end of the growing season,
Yes.
we try to assist them also
Mhm.
with market linkage, because
Mhm.
we know some of the buyers who have developed a preference for our varieties.
Mm-hmm.
So we can assist.
Okay.
The linking is no guarantee.
Okay.
You can introduce me to your brother. It doesn't mean that there's going to be a wedding, right?
All right.
So it is an introduction, but
Yes.
the farmer still needs to negotiate.
So the farmer has
see
to
if it
pitch.
works. Yes.
So do you think that is a factor that farmers need to start learning on how to pitch to the market and all that?
Yes, and
Mhm.
actually, it's absolutely important that farmers start thinking about the market at the time of variety selection. Because, like I explained, there are some varieties that are good for chips, some that are good for mashing. They have very different characteristics. Don't grow a potato that is good for
Mhm.
mashing thinking you're going to sell it to those fast food chains, because you will not
Mhm.
succeed.
Okay.
So
Very
you need
interesting.
to think, who is my target market?
Uh-huh.
And
Uh-huh.
all markets can be good, and all markets have massive demand. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Maybe just to take you back on the yield. So we
Mhm.
said 10 tons should be a target,
Mhm.
but we've seen farmers in Kenya achieve even 15, 18, some very good ones, even 20 tons an acre.
Mhm.
So imagine
20
in the
tons.
beginning, I told you about 3 to 4 tons an acre, or 4 to 5 tons an acre
Yes.
average.
Yes.
That is fourfold or fivefold.
Ah.
Can you imagine? Yes, you invest more, but your profit, of course. I mean,
Wow,
you're making a
wow,
lot of
wow,
money in that case.
wow. Yes.
Potato prices
Uh-huh.
fluctuate massively throughout
Yes.
the season
Uh-huh.
and the year.
Mhm.
I have heard of potato prices as low as 8 shillings a kilo ex gate,
Mhm. 8 shillings.
8 shillings a kilo ex farm. I've heard of potato prices also as high as 40 shillings a kilo ex farm.
Off season.
Yeah.
Must be off season.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
So if
I cannot predict what prices are going to do. And of course, the more we start growing off season, the more prices also normalize,
Yes.
which is ultimately what we want.
So on average,
So let's say work with an average of
25 shillings.
20, 25.
Okay. So
So
10
let's
tons
say
would
you're
make.
getting 10 tons, even at the lower price of 20 shillings a kilo.
Uh-huh.
What is your revenue?
200,000 shillings. So
Yeah, your cost of input.
120 if you are irrigation.
Yeah.
And so it all depends on your production.
Yes.
Land preparation, crop management.
Exactly. Yeah.
And God to help you germinate.
Exactly.
Yes.
Because even if prices drop to 15 shillings a kilo,
Mhm.
you are still breaking even and
Okay.
making a little profit.
Mhm.
But if your productivity stays at 4 tons an acre,
Yes.
even at 20 shillings, 25, you're not making money.
Uh-huh,
Right?
uh-huh,
So we as farmers, what we can control is our
Yes.
productivity.
Uh-huh.
Not 100% because we depend on the weather. Of course, we're not in a micro environment.
Especially the erratic weathers now.
Yes.
Yeah.
But try as much as you can to improve your productivity through the factors that you can control.
How many times can a farmer grow? One last question coming out.
Yes.
How many times can a farmer grow potatoes on the same piece of land before rotating?
So
and what can we rotate
we
with
always advocate for crop rotation and a
Mhm.
rotation of 1 in 4.
Mhm.
That means if I've grown potatoes on this piece of the shamba now,
Yes.
I don't come back until I've done another 3 crops.
Uh-huh.
So then my 4th crop can be potato again.
Interesting.
Other crops that you can grow: spinach, onions, cabbage, carrots, maize, wheat, canola, very nice for cleaning up your soils.
Uh-huh.
So a whole range, but it should not be in the potato family.
In the Solanaceae.
Yes,
That is
exactly.
tomatoes.
No tomatoes, no eggplant, no,
No
managu,
managu,
no tobacco,
chilies.
pilipili hoho. I
Pilipili
think.
hoho, so yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. And when you see volunteer potatoes coming up
Mm.
in your crop, in your
Mhm.
other crop, remove them. Because they can still be inhibitors of diseases. And we don't want them to stay alive in,
so
in the
potatoes
land.
is very sensitive with diseases.
Extremely, yes.
Thank you very much, Corein, for being here. We know we ambushed you and you're here. Thank you very much for the information. I am being told to tell you to look at that camera and give the parting shot to farmers, those who want to grow tomatoes or those who want to start being managers of farms and not farmers. That is your parting shot. I'm being asked if you can mix both Kiswahili and English.
Wow.
Yes.
Sema viazi, sema Agrico.
Hey,
that is our slogan.
That was my parting shot.
I even know it in Kikuyu. Uga waru, uga Agrico.
Okay.
Yes. But I would like to encourage farmers and say that thanks to access to good seed and good farming methods,
yes,
as a farmer, you can increase your profitability,
All right.
your own food security.
Yes.
But we can also help the industry
Yes.
to get enough produce to grow and to become more efficient and to
Yes.
stop imports, for example, and even to start exporting.
Ex-
There are some companies who export Kenyan crisps and chefda outside, which is amazing. But also, let's increase potato productivity from our land, because at the end of the day, as a nation,
Yes.
we need to be food secure.
Yeah.
And potato is a very good alternative staple crop, very nutritious,
Yes.
has a high nutritional value, higher than maize. So it can be a good alternative to add to your diet. So let's also make sure that we become food secure as Kenya. We have the land available, we have the knowledge available.
Yes.
Seed is now available from Agrico all year round. We now want the farmers to do their part as well.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you for those who've watched us, who've been following us. There's still a lot of questions that you've asked here. Follow Agrico EA on the social media on Facebook as well, and there's a lot of information that is there. Corein will also share some of information, that some of the videos on how to plant, how to prepare your land, how to make sure that you're becoming profitable. Remember, our aim is to help you attain knowledge and grow profits, to move from being farmers and producers into businessmen. Think on business women as well, thinking about money, thinking about how you're going to get back your investment that you've put in your farm. Thank you for having watched us. Say and all my whole team, having made sure that this has been produced well for you to hear. Asante sana. Starting with Jackie Moore behind the scenes there, and then Sarah as well, and the whole team behind it. Thank you very much, Corein, for being here. From here, from my desk here, I say Sema Potato, Sema Agrico. Till next time.